My mom started buying me porcelain dolls.
Don't
Imagine,
you think it's
100% it's creepy. We didn't have any massive fundraisers or rounds. We really had to be super thoughtful and capital efficient. I just put out this morning, we've done over 20 million total volume on base in less than a month. We were not one of those teams that raised $10 million before the Blast TGE. We're building right along and it's gonna be good and we'll continue to expand. And then it was like someone just put the brakes on, closed the door.
Q1, what's something that people can expect from you guys?
We will be announcing the next chain that we integrate on pretty soon too.
Is it the chain that you mentioned just now?
It might be.
GM, welcome to another podcast. And today I'm sitting down with Andrea. And we did so many times online without seeing face to face. And this is the first time seeing you here. So I'm excited because we have so much to talk about. And usually, it's about one particular topic and everyone chime in. But this time I get to book you an hour to really know who you are. So before we get started, could you share a little bit more, who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, I am Andrea. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Beezie. And that is all I do right now. Everything is so busy. Yeah. There's no time for anything else. But I've been building this for a good part of the last 4 or 5 years and feeling really good about the momentum and the busyness lately.
Yeah, so like busy and busy.
Busy and busy.
Yes. So do you think like the more you build it, the more busier you become?
It's true.
How come? Like tell me more, since the first day you started building out and having the idea of I want to build Beezie up to now 4 or 5 years. How's that progress going on?
I mean, it's so different, right? Because in the beginning, it's more about building foundationally, right? And I think a lot of times in this space, people miss that because they want to do things super fast.
Yeah.
And when you don't necessarily build the foundation for the house, that's when the house can fall apart really, really quickly. So, an example of that is before we even remotely came close to finishing our MVP, we were already locking down our vault partnership and contract with Brinks, right? That's a foundational piece of what we've built. That was early on, right? Where you're just putting the building blocks together. And now we're at a place where we're scaling. And some days it feels like we're drinking from a fire hose because we are building and growing so fast. Yeah. But, now it's honing in on the product, making the necessary tweaks when we have to, and then scaling and growing.
Yep. They like to say slow, steady, and all at once.
Yeah.
So do you feel it like the term is properly describing the building career that you have?
100%. Yep.
And so just for the audience sake, could you explain a little bit more what Beezie is?
Yeah, of course. So Beezie is an RWA platform that focuses on physical collectibles. I mentioned we have a vault. We take all of the assets into our vault, everything from trading cards to sealed product to sneakers to vintage video games, and we'll continue to expand those categories. But once an asset comes into the vault, we create a one-to-one digital twin. And then that twin is either on our marketplace, in someone's wallet, loaded into our gamified activation, the claw machine. There's a variety of, things that you can do with them.
Got it. And you yourself personally, when did you started to be like, oh, I love collectibles and I want to get into the game?
I feel like I've told this story so many times, so I'm sorry if anyone's heard it before, but...
So it's okay. You have to repeat it over and over again,
right? So collectibles started in childhood. I have a dad that is a massive collector, and I don't think I really realized the significance of that growing up because it was always just part of my life. He would be ordering coins. He would be looking for comic books. He would be buying basketball cards. And he still does all of this to this day. Like, it's still part of who he is. Yeah. He showed up at my house a few months ago and had like a binder of old Pokemon cards that I did not think survived moves and basically like life. Yeah. He said, oh, do you want these for your little company? Yeah, sure. But I say that because there was always the chase of the grail. Yep. That is something that I learned super early on, that, it's the moment of what if, it's the speculation. It's like, oh, this could be really valuable someday, so I'm going to hold it and treasure it and collect it. Whether that's stamps, comics, coins, cards. I mean, you can collect anything. I wouldn't say I leaned into being a collector as I was building my professional career. So I got into healthcare and then started investing in crypto, fast forward a few years, realized that there was like a really antiquated system built for collectibles and we could use blockchain to make it better.
Got it. So what is like the weirdest thing that you have collected so far?
I haven't said this before. When I was growing up, my mom started buying me porcelain dolls. And at one point, I think my bedroom had over 100 inside. Like,
Don't you
imagine
feel it's creepy?
100% it's creepy. And maybe as a child, I don't know. I don't know if I was scared as a kid or what, but like we had a porcelain doll Cabbage Patch, which I think if it was kept would have been worth a ton today. But my whole bedroom was filled with shelves of dolls. Yeah. That's definitely the weirdest thing. Like 100%.
I can
It was weird then and it's still weird now.
Okay. You know, maybe when you were a kid, it was like you don't feel that it's weird until right now when you realize and think back about it.
But I think even as a kid, I was like, it's kind of weird.
Okay. So you say you did a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I always believe like, you know, when you grow up and your dad started collecting it, it's not going to be like you 100% believe that this is going to have value.
Yeah.
Then you did so many stuff and then you think about it and be like, all right, I think the value stored is there. Like what was the mentality shift you had that made you think that way?
I think honestly, it was like the NFT bull run that connected the pieces, right? And there's so much that translates as, you know, someone is looked at as a collector, right? It's the community that forms around specific assets. Obviously, a lot of those NFTs didn't hold their value the same way as real world collectibles. But, you know, it was sort of that moment in time that pulled together my past and then, you know, the future and where we are now with Beezie.
Got it. And looking at how, I would say over the last few years, collectible has been on the rise. Mm-hmm. Maybe because of Netflix, maybe because of, you know, Logan Paul crazy news. But why do you think that the market suddenly thinks that this is going to be like the next big thing? Like previously, people has already valued it, but feels like it's a very small niche. And now everyone or any NFT holder I know is back on the Pokemon grind. And you look on X, everyone is ripping out packs. Why do you think like there's a shift? I mean,
collectibles and I think trading cards specifically are the perfect on-chain asset. Like it is what we can use to bring more people into this space. Now, like if we're looking at collectibles broadly, you see some do really, really well. You see some soften. A couple months ago, everyone was talking about, you know, the sneaker market not being what it once was. Obviously, we've seen TCG go like this, but it's been interesting. I mean, we put out our MVP on blast in 2024, and it was right after OP5 came out, One Piece 5 for the people that aren't, you know, massive collectors. And we saw this huge pump, and everyone was talking about OP. And then, if I'm doing the math right, maybe like 9 months later, that specific market started to soften. And that's when you really saw Pokemon start to go crazy. I think when you look at the IP, Pokemon is so relatable across generations. So whether it was like my dad buying it, you know, in the earliest days to my kids liking the characters now, it just works. Other trading cards are more specific to a certain age. And I think, you know, they're still going to do really, really well. It's why we see One Piece work. But Pokemon is just, it translates and it's great for all ages. And obviously, like, you know, cute works. We hear the pudgy people say that all the time. Like cute really, really works.
I grew up watching Pokemon. So I'm 33 years old. And I feel like millennials are the people or like the target market of Pokemon because they are the people that, you know, maybe have some money right now and want to start investing into, you know, their childhood dream.
Yeah.
Do you think like the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha people is on this Pokemon hype as well?
No, 100%. I mean, we see it. I think a lot of millennials are sort of rediscovering an earlier love of Pokemon. We've seen that on Beezie over and over again, and that's really fun. But 100%, the younger generations, the sort of like Gen X, Gen Alpha, are definitely leaning into the IP. They're getting excited. You know, when you're talking about pack rips, it's like the dopamine. Whether it's a digital pack rip or a physical pack rip, it is always that moment of like, what if I get the chase card? Like, that's fun. That's human nature. That's built in so many different activations that are just, you know, across generations.
Got it. I want to talk more about Beezie being in Web3 because recently I saw you guys make headline 1 million a day. You got to tell me more about that. Web3 has, for the longest time, has not made money. And a lot of like the revenue comes from whether it's NFT mint or it is just fundraising and slowly bleed out or token launch. But having a sustainable revenue in Web3 is super rare.
Yeah, I mean, we were the opposite of that. And I think some of that comes with, the team's background. This is not the first thing we've ever done. My co-founder and I both had, careers leading up to where we are. So we were the opposite. We were, let's build a revenue generating sustainable business first. We didn't have any massive fundraisers or rounds. We really had to be super thoughtful and capital efficient. And that is how you should build a business. That's foundationally, I think, the right way to do things. Brick by brick, day by day, we got to a place where, I just put out this morning, we've done over 20 million total volume on Base in less than a month.
What was that whole spike in terms of having more and more people coming in?
That was going multi-chain. I mean, we were limited to Flow for 2025. And, I can only say good things about Flow and the community we built there, but you have to, chains are still somewhat tribalistic at this point, right? As much as we want to say that we're chain agnostic, which I would love to be, you really do have to continue to expand and go where the people are. We're a consumer platform, so that is Flow, that's Base, that's Solana at some point. You really have to go where not only the people that are already on chain live, but the people that are going to be coming on chain will live.
Yep. Buying Pokemon cards or like ripping out packs or, entering this whole collectible, like there is people that is still actively in, Web 2 or less people on, Web 3 and different platforms. Like what's that draw that makes people on Web 2 be like, oh, this is the way I've been interacting. Let me change it and switch into Web 3. It's
the claw. I mean, for us, it's, the answer to the marketplace cold start problem. It's how do you get people in the door as a new marketplace? And that's, a gamification layer, whether it's a claw machine, a gacha packaged up some other way. It's how I think any platform that's on chain that has seen significant growth, whether it's Courtyard, Collector Crypt, us, it's that gamification layer that initially gets people in or the community. There's an important part of that conversation, which is if I'm getting someone that comes in seeing Beezie for the first time through a content creator on Instagram, what kind of friction are they facing? And the beauty of building right now is that the barrier of entry is super low because of the tools that have been built like Privy, and others, where you can really just sign in with your email, pay with your Apple Pay or your credit card, and not even understand what being on chain really means.
Tell me how of a big difference it is to have I know you guys are heavily pushing the claw machine. How significantly different it is from other platforms out there?
I think what people really appreciate right now, at least the feedback that I'm hearing, is our claw machine many days feels PvP. So we do not flood each machine with tens of thousands of assets. We really keep it tight and let people chase. And that means that you might have 10 people at the same time going for the same grails in the same moment. And that's been really fun to watch. And that idea of PvP, we're going to continue to lean into on the platform. It's, as a builder, a lot of your inspiration comes from seeing what people are gravitating towards or what they are asking for without asking. And, our community, it's clear that there is this PvP moment that needs to happen for sure.
Well, Web3 people love their PvP.
Yeah, they sure do.
And what's some, I would say, cool story that your community have experienced and shared with you guys before?
Our community, specifically, when you've been building for a long time, you hear a lot of anecdotal stories. I'm always the happiest when I see someone from the other side of the world talking about their redemption coming in 24 hours. I can't remember who it was, so please guys don't get mad at me for this, but someone had just posted, I didn't realize I had a Beezie Prime account.
Okay.
My box got delivered to, I think it was Germany, in less than 24 hours. That is really significant.
Yep.
And when we see all of these other competitive platforms pop up overnight, those are the features that I know they're missing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that separates Beezie from the rest of the pack, because we do get stories like that about, overnight shipping to Germany or Japan or Finland.
Yeah.
And, I just find that amazing, and it makes me super proud.
What's one thing about Beezie that you are the proudest of?
Our community. Yeah, our community.
Why is that?
It's really supportive. It's fun. It's, we have people that are still with us that have been here since our earliest days on Blast. And I don't think you see that type of community in this space in particular that often. That comes right down to like the team that we've built, the product that we've built. I think, it's the feedback that we listen to, that we try to build towards. But we've just got a really great group of people that, have been with us for a really long time. And I'm just proud of that.
Well, if you can build on Blast and survive, that means your community is great.
Yeah.
How did the pivot of obviously we know what happened to Blast.
Yeah.
And that whole pivot, or like having that, I would say, momentum, and then suddenly getting it killed and wanting you to shift to the other chains and stuff like that.
It was
how did
really
you guys
hard.
overcome it?
It was really, really hard. And also because we were not one of those teams that raised $10 million before the Blast TGE, right? We were sort of like, okay, Blast is going to TGE and we're building right along and it's going to be good and we'll continue to expand. And then it was like someone just put the brakes on, closed the door. And we had to just figure out how to survive at that point, because then you were at a point like you lost the momentum pre-TGE, right? You also had this world of post-TGE investors not wanting to touch Blast products because they already had sunk a lot of money into some of those platforms, and they're looking at it like, I'm never going to get a return here. So, if I'm being really honest, that was an incredibly hard 9 months post-Blast until we, launched the claw machine on Flow in January 2025.
And in your whole 4 or 5 years of building, what was like the most difficult moment for you?
I feel like this is getting to be a serious interview, but it's important for other builders to hear. When you're doing everything right, and when you see vaporware just getting money thrown at it, and when you're constantly being told, we don't believe in the thesis, all the different reasons in the world. And you have, a team looking at you like, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? Those were the worst moments for me personally, because I felt like, what's going to happen? Like, we're doing everything right. What's the missing link? And so it was really us just putting our heads down and continuing to push on and just not giving up, even when, building Beezie is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, easily. And it was those moments that, we really had to push through to get to the other side.
Got it. When was the moment that you realized that, we are no longer a small player, but we actually have the potential to be a big player?
The moment when I felt like we got our shot was late August, early September of 2025. We had seen month-over-month growth since January of 2025. We weren't hitting the numbers that a Courtyard or a Collector Crypt at that point in time was doing. Shout out Collector Crypt. I love you guys. Great, great, great team. But we were watching that happen and we saw growth. But, even though we were being really thoughtful with our capital and we were, profitable, we didn't have the capital after we paid OpEx to go and buy a ton of inventory to put back into the growth that we were seeing. I had a conversation with one of our earliest investors pre-product, Simon from Moonrock Capital. Shout out Simon. And he's like, why don't we do an echo round? Because, you guys are you're doing everything right. We're seeing the growth. Let's see if we can do an echo round. So we did an echo and private round in early September. We were able to put that towards inventory and build out the platform. And that's when we really started to see the numbers increase significantly. Yeah. And then taking that in Q4, which was limited to Flow because we were only, single chain at that point, and then launching on Base and becoming a multi-chain platform in January and just having astronomical growth. Yeah. That's where we are right now. And it's sort of been the last 6 months that we've looked and said, okay, we've got something here.
Well, I love the story because I think for most people who are in Web3, you just realize that, the whole January, February, or even people predict March is going to have this like grave period where, Bitcoin dropped to 60K, bounce back, and then seeing, projects like you guys killing it and saying 1 million a day. And then, so it actually propped up on my feed and there's so many KOLs that were talking about it.
Yeah.
And then when Abi reached out to me, I was like, I got to ask you about this, right? So with this growth, like I want to talk more about the future of Beezie. So like what else? Because growth is great, spike up, but you still have to do so much stuff to continue that momentum. Is it more hiring? Is it more outreach? Is it more to community building? What would
buying
it be?
more.
Buy more packs.
Buying more inventory. We've got a pretty solid dev team that I think we could probably add a couple more on there. And there'll be a few key hires that we make in the future. But it's continuing to buy more inventory now to meet the demand of like different priced claws. It's, building out new features that the community is going to get excited about. And for me personally, it's been assembled an amazing team that has been working on our token and our token utility, because that is, I think, one of our biggest opportunities in the future. And there's, not a chance in hell that we're not going to do it the right way and really make it not only TGEs, but long-term token plays in the future.
Is buying inventory these days getting harder and harder?
Yes. We've got amazing plugs and connections, and that just comes from doing this a long time. But you're seeing Web 2 come in and pay 110% fair market value. Yep. And when you're our size competing with that can be challenging. Yeah. It's hard, but it's not impossible.
In terms of collectibles, we talk about like OP, we talk about Pokemon. What do you think is like some of the collections that's still underrated that you would love to expand more into your platform?
I mean, I'm really excited about bringing luxury on chain. Okay. And I think taking, the asset once it's on chain and having this conversation around composability and different things that you can do with it, that would be different brand partners that come in. I think there is a real opportunity around creating gamified activations for brands and asset classes that are geared more towards a female demographic versus, Web3, it's mostly men. And so there's a lot of TCG. We'll lean more into sports as well. When you look at the demographic of buyers of blind boxes in real life, it's female heavy. So to build activations and bring on assets that cater to those real life buyers is going to be a significant play in the future for sure.
What's your thought on Web3 TCG? Like we have WeFriends, we have the Pudgy, Azuki's doing one. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm all for it. I mean, collectors collect, right? And so all of these communities have a base that started as collectors of their NFTs. And to expand the brand and, get it into just a regular TCG collector outside of this space, I think it's a great opportunity. I'm all for it. And I'm excited for all of them.
Got it. You particularly this year, what's something that you want to double down on?
For collectibles or just in general?
Beezie. Yeah.
I would like to have a little bit more time. No, it's just expanding our brand. I have tunnel vision right now. Okay. And I've had tunnel vision for the last, 3.5 years. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Like, this is it. I'm not thinking much beyond what's the next step for Beezie. Yep. Because it's all looped together.
Okay. So it's more of putting the word out there, getting more people, focusing on users.
It's growing, right? It's growing and scaling. That's the name of the game right now.
Do you think like you guys will expand more in the gamification part of it? Yeah. Making it fun? Like 100%. What's some stuff that you could leak?
Well, like I brought up earlier, PvP. Going beyond a claw machine as a gamification piece of the website. I mean, the smart contract is one thing. The front end and what you create is another. And it's going to be fun to get more creative around that. I mean, certainly in a year from now, we're not just going to be a claw machine and that's it, right? Like there's a lot more that we can do that's going to be exciting.
Will people expect more, in real life activation from you guys?
Totally. And that's, that also goes to targeting a Web 2 consumer, right? You really need to be at the conferences, at the IRL events, having boots on the ground to, spread the word on the brand.
What's your focus in Asia?
Asia's a huge opportunity. I have to spend some time in Korea. I think, the Korean market's massive, and that's right on the horizon for us for sure. Our growth lead is based out of Singapore. We have social media lead was based out of Malaysia. He actually relocated to Dubai. But yeah, Asia's a huge market.
Why I ask, because Pukas is purely in Asia.
Yeah.
And we see how, a lot of brands actually double down on Asia, but doesn't mean they did it well. Right. And recently, one of my partners, they focus a lot of resource in Asia, but after 2 years, they just didn't find any success. But people know Asia is a big thing, right?
Yep.
People know China is a big thing, but how do they go into it is a different question. So do you have like a strategy in play? For example, picking out a particular country? Is it like an overall thing that, once it starts, you just want to hit all markets?
No, and I think this is one of the things that I kind of pride myself with, and it's why I hire certain people to put on our team as Beezie. And it's the same way you go into new markets. It's picking out the players that understand something on a much deeper, more significant level than I do. It's me not assuming that I can write the playbook for Korea. Right? There's no world that I should be deciding single-handedly what our strategy looks like to go into Korea, Malaysia, Singapore. But it's finding the right person or the right group from our network that we've been building for a really long time that's done it before for other brands and done it really, really well, and then plugging in with them.
Would this strategy be rolled out pretty soon? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll see you more in Asia then.
You will. You absolutely will. Me or Pratik. I might send him. It's a long flight for me.
How big is the team, by the way?
We have 8 full-time right now, and then a handful of part-time. We obviously have, people on ops because we're really ops heavy as an organization. We have this big physical component, and then we have our kind of peripheral sourcers and plugs and people that work on the inventory side.
Got it. Yeah. When you said that delivery within a day, that's like Amazon level. So I do believe operation is heavy.
It's huge. Yeah. But we've got a ninja team. They're amazing.
Okay. So in Q1, what's something that people can expect from you guys?
More communication on the token,
okay,
for sure. We will be announcing the next chain that we integrate on pretty soon too.
Is it the chain that you mentioned just now?
It might be. It might be. It's an obvious guess, right? We want to have a touch point with every single person on chain, and then we want to bring millions in with them. And so who the biggest chains are, right? It's not going to be a new chain that pops up tomorrow that we're going to run at. It's going to be who, has significance in terms of TVL and users and obviously a consumer footprint as well.
Okay, got it. I want to close with this final question to you.
Oh my God,
as a collectible,
I'm nervous.
What's your holy grail that you would want, that you would spend, buy it and not sell it no matter how much people offer you?
It would be a really special Birkin.
Okay.
That I'm not there yet. Someday, maybe I'll do that for myself. When it comes to trading cards, it's fun to see things come up. So I love watching the Bubble Mew come up in price. And we actually have a pack rip from way, way, way back in the day with Dachshund Wizard and Dude Lifts. Shout out, guys.
Dude Lifts. Oh, shout out to Dude Lifts.
I think it might have actually been it was either an ETH Denver or a Consensus that they opened it at, and he got that. And then to watch that appreciate in value as he held it and he would bring it up. There's so many cool stories around collectibles. I think that's the beauty of it because it's all about the storytelling and the ownership transfer and all those pieces.
All right, got it. Guys, this is a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you love everything that Andrea has been shared, just follow Beezie.
Thank you.
That's it.
This was great. You're an amazing interviewer. Thank you.